people who were in those buildings.
All right, it is 12 noon, so we'll go ahead and get started with our public hearing. There have been two advertisements for hearings. The first one is for the 2019 CDBG grant program. The second is for the LERTA ordinance. After that concludes, I'll adjourn the meeting and move into the regular commissioners meeting. In order to begin, first of all, let me remind everyone to sign in the piece of paper at the beginning over by the door. And then for presentations, we'll start with Lori Dunlap to talk about the CDBG program. Any questions, we'll just ask that you state your name, municipality, and direct them to me. And then we'll close down that and move on to Commissioner Eggleston presenting the LERTA public comments related to that. So first, I'll turn it over to Lori Dunlap from Planning and Zoning Office in order to talk about the CDBG grant program.
Lori Dunlap, Warren County Planning. I'm the CDBG administrator. I'm here to let you know that this year the county is going to get an allocation of $241,490,000. That's up $1,200 from last year, which is good. CDBG projects must comply with one of three national objectives. One is benefiting primarily low and moderate income populations. Second is addressing blight. And the third is response to a disaster, urgent need, bridges out, something like that. CDBG can be used for quite a variety of things as long as it is supporting one of those three national objectives. We can buy properties, we can sell properties, we can demolish blighted properties, we can put parks in an area where it's predominantly low income. We can use it in schools, libraries, senior centers. It can be used for some public services, if they're a new public service or significantly increased public service. Use CDBG funds. Infrastructure, we do a lot of water and sewer lines with CDBG funds. Sidewalks, we do street reconstruction. We can do activities that will create jobs. We can use it for planning purposes, such as the sewage plan, 537, mapping, which we've used, or for a comp plan. So this is not all-inclusive, but gives you a general idea of what we can use with the funds. Usually, basically, in determining which projects the commissioners are going to fund, look at the cost of the project and if that municipality has received, or the funding, the person who's requested has received funds in the past, trying to spread the wealth a little bit. Our application is due November 1st. I have sent notices to the surrounding municipalities and some agencies that we've worked with before I put the ad in the paper to solicit proposals. I've received a few. Working on qualifying them at this point. So once I have the projects all together and have determined which proposals are eligible, then I present them to the commissioners, and then they can look at them and see who they're going to benefit, how many people will benefit, where, blah, blah, blah. And then we submit an application to the state, and they approve it or deny or ask for more information. So is there any questions about CDBG funding or what we've used it on in the past?
Mr. Scully, Lake
Oh,
Township.
Mr. Scully, yes.
Can we change the wording on this? You made a statement just a few minutes ago that you determined from the applications you kind of like to spread the wealth around to municipalities. I feel sometimes you're penalizing people, like in my township, that we know of the CBG money, and if we can get it for 3 projects, I'd like to get it for 3, but I don't like the idea of saying, well, you got 1 or 2 CBG grants now,
Well, yeah, you know, it's not the issue with Glade Township.
yeah, I know,
The issue
but
with Glade Township is one of the richer townships
Oh,
according
no,
to the
no.
2010 census. And so, as we have spent money in Glade Township before,
Yeah.
we put the sewer in at Front Street,
the pump
You know,
station at
yes.
the Holly
the
apartment.
Holly Apartments. It's been a while.
Yes.
And so, you know, if you can find a project that's needed in an area that you think might qualify, and I'm happy to send surveys out to determine, you know, and Nancy knows this too, you have to find out.
51% LMI.
Yeah.
Right, so, and your township is like 30%, I think?
I don't know,
You probably have
actually,
29%
but
low income?
I know there's a good use for CBG money, and I don't want to be penalized because other municipalities don't take the time to look into CBG money.
You know, they do, and part of the problem in the county is we're so spread out, and the population is so spread out, that, like, to put a sewer line in a very rural area, where, you know, you're going a mile between houses, is not cost effective.
No.
So you're more likely to spend it in the boroughs, where the populations are concentrated.
I
So-
can argue that, but we won't.
I know.
So,
I'm not
But
joking.
thanks for your information.
just from my understanding, the purpose of the hearing is to have an open forum for people to bring projects forward or to discuss
Basically,
it.
just to announce
To
that
announce
that
it,
the county will be
it's opened up.
receiving an allocation this year, and, you know, if anybody has something that they would like to propose, it's not something that benefits individuals unless it's on a wide basis, like we've assisted eligible households with connecting to a sewer when a new sewer line's put in. So we'll help individuals connect to a sewer system, but
So
they
we
have to
have
qualify.
between now and November 1st in order to come up with
You
something.
know, actually, my deadline was August 15th.
Mhm.
But if something should come out today, we will scramble and do it.
Is that deadline, that's CDBG's deadline?
CDBG's deadline is November 1 for me to have the county's application into DCD and all the projects that we're going to fund. So I started earlier in the summer because sometimes I have to do lengthy income surveys
Mhm.
and such to see if a project qualifies. Haven't had anything to that effect yet. Had a request from Youngsville Borough. They were looking for some money to put in the sluice pipe, and they called me yesterday and said National Fuel funded it, so they don't need our money. So good for them.
So do you have projects lined up then for?
I do have some proposals,
Okay.
so to see if they're eligible and, so.
Ms. Freeman, from the city?
What is the county's LMI rate?
You know, thank you for asking, Nancy, I don't know. I think it's about 41% countywide.
So you have a hard time finding qualifying projects?
So we never, well, rarely do something that's countywide. It's usually within a municipality.
Right, I guess I was thinking, and
Citywide.
the commissioners, I think, were kind enough to allocate some funds to Lacey Playground, but that really is going to be,
And that wasn't CDBG funds.
no, but I was just wondering because we think it's going to come in higher than the original estimate, and I was wondering if that would qualify if the county's overall rate was high enough, but it's not.
It's not.
Okay.
And the county can couple with the city on a CDBG funded project. We've done that at Faith Inn before. Because the city gets their own allocation
Right.
and the county gets theirs. And our population of the entire, so your population is 25% basically of the county. So we can't put in more than 75% of a project's value, and you have to put in 25% of your CDBG if we would work together on a project. But yeah, no, it's not over 51% at all.
Is there a, and I'm sorry, because David's out, so I can't
Yeah.
ask this question. Since that's not really a recreational project per se, it's more of to deal with individuals with disabilities, would that come under a different, they would still count as recreation?
No, and you know, there's certain clientele that are presumed to be low income.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, senior citizens are presumed to be low income. Severely disabled people are, but children, which a playground is geared towards, are not.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
things for kids. Feel free to call me with any
Yeah, okay.
questions.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome.
Anything else? Very
Thank
good.
you.
Hearing none, we will close down the CDBG hearing and move on to the advertised LERTA ordinance hearing. With that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Iverson.
So we advertised a series of hearings in municipalities and then also for the county in order to discuss what we refer to as the LERTA program, but it's a residential and commercial tax abatement program, which would allow individuals or entities to apply for tax abatement on new construction and updates and upgrades to properties within municipalities that sign on to the program. Generally, we're pushing a 5-year, 100% abatement. So what that means is if you were to build a garage on your property and put in an application, once that project is complete, from the time that it's complete, you would have 5 years where your taxes would not be increased if the application goes through. Whereas right now, if you built a garage, the assessment department would come out and reassess your property, and then your taxes would be increased. The goal of the program is to put a carrot on the table for redevelopment, give people an opportunity to see some savings, give an incentive for people in order to rework, redevelop, build new buildings, all of those types of things. The whole project revolves around basically 2 laws. One is the LERTA law, which most people discuss on a regular basis, which has to do with commercial properties. There are already LERTA districts in the county currently. What we're planning to do is expand that, and then also to add something from the second law, which is the Improvement of Deteriorated Real Property or Areas Tax Exemption Act, which is similar to the LERTA law. It basically you take an area and you consider it through ordinance a deteriorated area, and then in that area, any new construction, development, whatever, you set up a schedule for tax abatement. We had everything lined up where we felt like we did. Basically what's happening now is several of the municipalities are tweaking their ordinances, so we're going to have a follow-up hearing next month. It might be joined with some of the townships and boroughs that haven't voted on their ordinance yet. They might still have their own public hearings. We wanted to keep this public hearing open to give people an opportunity to speak, their perspective on it, to share their views of it, either in support or opposition. Other counties that have done this, Erie County in particular, had multiple public hearings in order to discuss LERTA, and tax abatement, and so we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to share their views. So that's my spiel. There's a draft. The county's draft ordinance is on the table. There's also a map of all of the townships and boroughs that have signed on or that are planning on passing ordinances. I'm happy to say that Watson Township has been added to the list of now, I believe, 11 municipalities that are signed on, which makes up a large portion of the county. I think that this is going to be a good incentive for growth and development. And with that, I'll open the floor to any comments.
Mr. Scully from Glade.
We have talked with our solicitor, and until this is corrected the proper way, we're dealing with our solicitor and allow him to, with the other solicitors involved, figure out the legal side or the proper side or 2 different ordinances. So we have reverted ours back to our solicitor for his advice. I'm still in favor of LERTA, but I guess we'll leave it up to the legal side of the decisions, and that they work with you on it so that we can get this program off the ground.
We've received, just in response to that, we've received memos from at least one solicitor about questions about the structure of the program. And so right now we're crafting a response to that, and I believe it's the solicitor for your township, it was from another township, that kind of addresses a lot of the concerns that were raised related to how the advertisement should be set up, and then whether there should be 2 ordinances or 1 ordinance. Just for clarity, there are multiple municipalities that have passed it with a single ordinance that incorporates both laws, and then we've rewritten the advertisement to accommodate whatever the wishes are of the solicitors. Our goal here is to save the township's money, so we're more than happy to consult and work with the municipalities in order to reduce their legal bills, I guess I would say, and to give them as much of our insight based on our research as we can to help them make a decision.
Thank you.
Other public comment? good. Hearing none, remind you that we are going to be having a second hearing pertaining to the alert ordinance at most likely an evening location, and that will be in the weeks to come once other municipalities have settled on their version of alert. Is that correct?
Yes.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank Commissioner Eggleston for spearheading this effort. He has shown dogged determination, going to many municipal meetings, holding many community meetings, doing an enormous amount of research, and I want to thank him for driving this. It would not have happened without him. It also would not have happened without the wise counsel of Attorney Schmidt. Thank you very much for your time and service.
Yes, I've spoken with the solicitors, and we encourage their review, and I look forward to working with them.
Very good. With that, we will adjourn the public hearing at 12:16. And I'll immediately call to order the Commissioners' meeting of August 28th. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance immediately following a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This meeting is being recorded, and anything said in this meeting will become part of public record and posted on the county's YouTube channel in the near future. I don't believe we have had any executive sessions since the last time the board met, which was in July. The times that the commissioners have met, however, since then, in other areas, let's see, August 27th and every Friday thereafter, commissioners were in the same room to discuss durable slate and or AVM progress on our facilities. On the 11th, Commissioner Eggleston and I both attended the COG Fire Services meeting, which had the newspaper there, and I believe is an advertised public meeting. But one thing that came out of that Nancy Freenock was kind enough to remind me of is that we signed on behalf of the county to be the fiduciary agent, as I recall, for an EMS letter of intent that was passed through COG Fire Services. May have a copy of that to circulate. Again, that was brought up in a public meeting, so I don't think it's an issue, but I just wanted to make that announcement. On the 21st, Commissioner Eggleston and I, along with a group of other elected officials and business leaders, met with Congressman Thompson pertaining to economic development. And the 23rd, we both attended a hearing at the Warren State Hospital pertaining to the future of care for people in Polk and Warren State Hospital. And the 26th, this would be worth noting, the retirement board met rather spontaneously because our vendor, C.S. McKee, apparently had a date on the schedule to come meet with the retirement board, and we didn't advertise that because it was a mistake, I suppose. In the past, that has not been a public meeting. It is our intention going forward to make all retirement boards public meetings. None of that information was particularly enlightening, but we're happy to make it public. The only thing worth noting is that we did decide to change our international mutual funds into an indexed fund rather than managed specifically by C.S. McKee. On the 28th, today, we met regarding the elevators that are being renovated, and the topic was what colors to pick. So, it's also worth noting that we were at the County Commissioners Association during that, in between now and the last meeting together. I don't remember talking at all, but we passed each other in the hallways as we went to the various classes. Did I miss anything?
I believe so.
Correspondence. The only thing that I would like to bring correspondence-wise before the board is a citation that I'm asking that we sign. It is for Bingaman and Sons Lumber in Clarendon, and it is in commemoration of their 25 years in business. They're having a gathering of sorts and celebration. Unfortunately, it falls on September 11th, the night where wanted to get this before us today as signed. Any other correspondence to bring before the board? Very good. Oh, that's right. Just solicitor did remind me, that is true. We actually did have an official executive session this past Monday, immediately following the work session.
Yeah, that was to discuss the Madison Avenue litigation.
Okay. Prison board. Prison board is its own entity.
Okay.
All right, noted. Any public comment? On the agenda today, we have repository bids, several resolutions pertaining to CDBG, Act 13 approval, and homeless assistance programs, CYS needs-based plan, and a couple of 1099 agreements. Anything that you'd like to bring before the board that does not pertain to those issues? Very good. Hearing none. We've already reviewed the agenda. Do you need your approval? Minutes from July 24th. Have you had a chance to review them? Fiscal report.
You have the fiscal report in front of you, pretty much the same answer or comments from previous meetings. Cash flow is still going well. The TAN, we haven't had to borrow any additional funds for that to date, so it's still significantly better than previous years. The 2018 audit is about 90% complete now. There's just a few reporting items are working on and some conversion stuff with human services that they're still finalizing to bring that in line with the rest of the county books. And they do anticipate meeting the September 30th timeframe.
Just as a note to keep in mind, towards the end of the year, either before or after we pay off the TAN, if we can have a summary of the interest we paid over the past 3 years and a comparison to this year, because my assumption is that we're going to have a significant savings as far as interest goes. 'Cause normally, we pay between $30,000 and $40,000 in interest, I believe, on the TAN, and this year.
Yeah, it should be quite less.
Already at this point, we normally would have drawn $3.5 million. We've only drawn $1 million, which is less than a third of what we normally draw. My assumption is that we'll save $20,000 to $30,000 of interest, which I think is incredible. But I'd just like to make sure that we highlight that.
Sure. Happy to do so.
Give you some kudos for your good work.
Thanks, boss.
Thanks. Any other questions for the fiscal director? 4 proclamations on the agenda today. We'll start with the first, Commissioner Eggleston, just back and forth. The first is September 9th, being Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day. Whereas on behalf of the citizens of Warren County, Pennsylvania, we are pleased to join Children and Youth Services, Forest Warren Department of Human Services, and Beacon Light Behavioral Health Systems Prevention Services in promoting September 2019 as Fetal Alcohol Awareness Month in Warren County. And whereas the term fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is an umbrella term that describes the range of effects that can occur in a baby whose mother drank alcohol during pregnancy, with fetal alcohol syndrome being the most involved condition along the spectrum. And whereas prenatal alcohol exposure is the leading preventable cause of birth defects and intellectual and development disabilities, and whereas the exact number of people who have FASD is unknown, but it is estimated that up to 1 in 20 school children may have an FASD, a rate comparable to autism, and about 40,000 babies are born with effects of prenatal alcohol exposure annually. And whereas the lifetime cost of one individual with FAS is estimated to be $2 million, with a combined cost in the United States for FAS alone over $4 billion annually. And whereas among pregnant women, 1 in 10 reported any alcohol use and 1 in 33 reported binge drinking in the past 30 days. And whereas about half of all pregnancies are unplanned, contributing to late entry into prenatal care and presenting a barrier to optimal pregnancy management, particularly during the crucial early weeks of embryonic development. And whereas the good health and well-being of the people of Warren County are enhanced by the support of national efforts to educate about and prevent FASD. And whereas CYS and Forest Warren Department of Human Services and Beacon Light Behavioral Health Systems join with all residents of Warren County, Pennsylvania, and the many dedicated volunteers, healthcare professionals, educators, and parent groups by participating in this promotion. Now therefore, we, the Warren County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2019 as Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Month in Warren County, Pennsylvania, and pledge to continue to partner with organizations, healthcare professionals, educators, and the public to raise awareness about our unified message. Any comments from CYS?
I mean, we appreciate you bringing this disorder to the attention of the community. It is a very serious problem. The governor had just done a proclamation about this, and they've also instituted a new plan where anyone who is reported as having exposed themselves or their infant to alcohol or even drugs, there is a new process where the report is made to children and youth no matter what, and that we are to come up with a safe plan of care for all of these individuals, because it is very important for us to catch this early and to be able to put in interventions and assistance so that these children can live long and better lives.
Thank you. Commissioner Eggleston, any comments?
There's several proclamations.
Would you please read the September 11th proclamation?
Proclamation, Remembrance and Commemoration, September 11th, 2019. Whereas it has been 18 years since the unimaginable became believable. The Twin Towers fell, United Flight 93 crashed, and the Pentagon was damaged. And Americans united through the emotions of loss, determination, and dedication of those who diligently labor to restore order and honor. And daily in Warren County are dedicated volunteer and paid firefighters, police officers, emergency medical technicians, fire police, and other public servants are on call for whatever emergency arises. As Warren County remembers those lives lost on September 11, 2001, we honor those men and women who helped keep us safe. The total lives lost is just under 3,000. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Warren County recognizes Wednesday, September 11, 2019, as a day of commemoration and remembrance for all those who perform their duties with great resolve, who honorably serve and at times commit themselves to the ultimate sacrifice, and who have given their lives to provide for our safekeeping, preserve our democracy, and protect our freedom. Adopted this 28th day of August.
National Suicide Prevention Month, September 2019. Whereas suicide is one of the most disruptive and tragic events a family and community experience, with an increase of more than 2,000 lives lost in Pennsylvania each year, and an estimated 8 to 25 attempted suicides for each suicide death. And whereas in 2017, over 47,000 Americans aged 10 or older died by suicide, making it one of the country's top 10 causes of death. And whereas suicide is the 11th leading cause of all deaths in Pennsylvania, and the second leading cause of death among people from the age of 15 to 34. Whereas national suicide rates have increased significantly since 1999, with nearly every state reporting increases of more than 33% per year. 33% total. And whereas nearly 3 times as many people die by suicide in Pennsylvania annually as by homicide. And Pennsylvania's 2017 suicide rate of 15.03 per 100,000 people being higher than the national average of 14 per 100,000. And whereas Pennsylvania veterans, active duty military personnel, and National Guardsmen face a disproportionate risk as compared to the general population of Pennsylvania, with more dying from suicide than combat. And whereas public awareness of this terrifying problem is the key to preventing further suffering and loss of life, and the risk of human self-destruction can be reduced through awareness, education, and treatment, and as the highest risk for suicide is among the survivors of those who died by suicide or those who have attempted suicide, whereas Forest Warren Human Services, the Warren County School District, and Warren County government are committed to working to eliminate the stigma of suicide, educate the community about the warning signs of suicide, and ultimately reduce the rate of suicide in our county. Rise Core, which stands for Choosing Openness Regarding Experiences, is a grassroots organization that collaborates within the Warren County School District and other entities to promote suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention. And now therefore be it resolved that the Warren County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim September 2019 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in Warren County, and do urge all citizens to work to prevent suicide and to raise awareness and tolerance around all people affected by this tragedy. I'm hoping to present some more data pertaining to suicide deaths in the county and the state on next Tuesday's work session.
Terry Swanson, who's responsible for the CORE initiative, which is a suicide awareness and prevention organization that she's kind of spearheaded, wanted to be here today, but she's occupied. So I told her that I would share with you some of the stuff that she has planned. The CORE group has produced 5 billboards, which are going to be, that they've rented, that are going to be available for the month of September, related to suicide prevention. They'll be down by Dairy Delight in Youngsville and some other places, which I think is kind of neat that they kind of put the money together for that, and they're going to try to promote it as a big initiative. And then on September 28th at War Memorial Field from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., they're having their Glorious Walk, which is G-L-O-W, always like a good pun, Glorious Walk at War Memorial Field. There'll be lots of activities and a band and some other things, and that's to generate awareness around suicide prevention. Very good initiative, I think.
Good, thank you. Yes, September is National Recovery Month.
Yep. Okay, so September is obviously a big month. So this is a proclamation for National Recovery Month. Whereas every day, millions of Americans prove that recovery from alcohol and substance use disorders is possible, yet at the same time, millions more are struggling with the disease of addiction. Substance use disorders affect all communities nationwide, but with commitment and support, people with these disorders can achieve healthy lifestyles and lead rewarding lives in recovery. By seeking help, people who experience substance use disorders can embark on a new path toward improved health and overall wellness. The focus of National Recovery Month this September is to celebrate their journey. Recovery Month spreads the message that prevention works, treatment is effective, and people recover. The term substance use disorder, commonly known as addiction, is a disease of the brain, and many misconceptions surrounding it have contributed to harmful stigmas that can prevent individuals from seeking the treatment they need. By treating substance use disorders as seriously as other medical conditions, with an emphasis on prevention and treatment, people can recover. Nationally, in 2017, there was an estimated 72,000 Americans who died due to overdoses. The impact of substance use disorders is apparent in our local community. An estimated 85% of our county prison population is made up of persons with charges related to drug and alcohol abuse. A leading reason children are abused and neglected in Warren County is due to their parents' substance use. The agency has been seeing an increase in the number of referrals for investigations involving parental substance abuse. In fiscal year 17-18, the agency conducted 82 investigations where the allegations were for parental substance abuse, which is an 80% increase. Also, the agency has seen an increase in the number of children being placed due to parental substance abuse. In fiscal year 15-16, 2 out of 17 of the children in placement were in placement due to parental substance abuse. In fiscal year 16-17, that number increased to 3. And in fiscal year 17-18, the number has increased again to 6, thereby creating a 20% increase over the 3 years of children placed due to parental substance abuse. The Recovery Month observance continues to work to improve the lives of those affected by substance use disorders by raising awareness of this disease and educating communities about the prevention, treatment, and recovery resources that are available. For the above reasons, we, the Warren County Board of Commissioners, ask the citizens of Warren County to join us in celebrating and promoting this September as National Recovery Month. Now, therefore, we, the Warren County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of September as National Recovery Month, Warren County. And obviously, this is one that I think both of them I have a lot of personal issue with, but add that September is National Recovery Month. I will be on the 26th celebrating 15 years without a drink. So I am also part of Recovery Month as in a personal matter. So it does work. You can even potentially become a commissioner if you clean yourself up, apparently. So I, trying to just promote that as much as possible. That it's real easy to look at folks and think that they're never going to get better, that there's no chance that they're ever going to get better. It's not true. People can change. It just takes a lot of work and a lot of patience. So.
I'll move to approve the agenda of the minutes from July 24th, the fiscal report and the 4 proclamations as read.
I'll second.
Discussion. Any public comment? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. There's no old business on the agenda. First thing on your new business is 3 depository bids. First is on 2 Shastel Drive in Glade Township, parcel number Whiskey November 5, 894252, currently owned by Mark Markovich, bid on by Rebecca Bonavita, in the amount of $1,551.50. The second is on 330 Pipeline Road in Limestone Township, and parcel number is Tango Delta 528330, owned by Ed Sable, bid on by John Ziegler for $250. The third is on 4 Anchor Street in Clarendon Borough. Parcel number is Whiskey November 868-6887, currently owned by William and Pauline Lindstrom, bid on by Alan Culbertson Jr. in the amount of $1,200. I move to approve these 3 bids in accordance with the Real Estate Tax Sale Law Act of 1947.
I second.
Discussion? Any public comment? Bill? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The next 6 things on the agenda pertain to planning and zoning, and I'd be happy to take those as one motion. That would include the approval of the residential displacement plan under section 401D, resolution number 3142, the fair housing resolution, resolution 3143, adopting of minority and women's business enterprise plan, resolution number 3144, policy regarding non-discrimination on the basis of disability, and approval of section 3 plan of housing and urban development, and resolution number 3145. Sorry. Well, we can still take it all as one motion. 3145, which is the approval of housing and urban development plan. I'm sure it came from your office, not your desk.
Can I give a brief?
Please do.
Thank you very much. Annually, we need to recommit to adhering to several federal policies regarding fairness and hiring and contracts and et cetera, because we receive federal funds. We have a policy on non-discrimination, that no one will be discriminated against for employment or ability to procure services from the county because of a disability. We have a grievance procedure in place if you feel that you've been discriminated against because of your disability and not provided with the adequate information or access to it. You can contact me. We have renewed our goal to hire minority and women-owned businesses when we're procuring contractors for federally funded projects. We have a goal of 5% minority businesses and 3% women-owned businesses. And what we do is we mention that in our newspaper ads, and also I go on to websites and find the names of, in Pennsylvania, women and minority-owned businesses, and send them invitation for bids for projects that we do. In that same vein, we also have a goal to give contracts to Section 3 businesses, and that's persons who are low income, who own a business or live in public housing and own a business. We have a goal of 30% of our contracts going to that. that one's very hard to get because there is no listing for the Section 3 businesses. And then also the county has a residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan. Basically, the county says that we won't displace anyone for a CDBG-funded project. If perhaps we have to, a sewer project going through or something, then we have to find suitable housing for people that we displace. Any questions? There's full plans here if you'd like to see them. Thank you.
Good. Very much to approve all of those resolutions I brought up.
I'll second.
Okay. Made that motion and Jeff seconded. Any public comment? Any further discussion? The motion was to approve the residential displacement plan, resolution 3001-42, 43, 44, 45, along with the section 3 plan of housing and urban development. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Act 13 application, Commissioner Eggleston.
So we had a presentation at a work session from the Rotary Club, basically Adam Mineo and Dr. Bill Clark. We're spearheading the sensory playground, which will be implemented at Lacey Playground in the city of Warren. They're raising a total, and I can't remember the exact.
165, Commissioner. The Rotary is raising $165,000.
Yeah.
The project cost is $530.
Yes, I was looking for the
sorry.
project cost. Yeah, so I think that the Rotary itself committed to 50 and they've raised 80. And then I think the total amount that they're trying to get to, because they're looking for other entities to chip in as well. Anyway, help them put together an application for Act 13 funds. This, in my opinion, fits right in with the spirit of Act 13, especially the bucket that we were trying to draw from that involves beautification and recreation. And I'm requesting that for a vote and support for a $20,000 grant to the Rotary Club via the WCEA in order to help fund the sensory playground, which I believe is not just going to be utilized by folks in the city of Warren, but folks around the county who have children with sensory issues. As a parent of a child who has sensory issues, 2 children that have sensory issues, who've both been diagnosed autistic, I've taken them to these playgrounds. They're incredibly fun, not just for the kids with sensory issues, but also for all kids. And they're actually surprisingly entertaining. You would think that they'd have a lot of specialized stuff, but a lot of it has to do with auditory issues. Part of it has to do with the special swing sets and different things so that you can have a wheelchair roll into a swing and then be swung in the wheelchair so the person doesn't have to be displaced from their mode of transportation. A lot of really good things in it, so I'm supporting it. I'm asking everybody else to too.
Very good. I'll take that as a motion.
I will motion to approve the $20,000 grant application for the sensory playground.
And I will second. Discussion from the board. Any public comment? Very good. The motion was to approve $20,000 from Act 13 for the purpose of the Lacey Fund, Lacey Playground, sensory playground. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, approval of the 2019-2020 Homeless Assistance Program. This is an annual agreement that we passed with Warren Forest County's Economic Opportunity Council. They are responsible for ensuring compliance with the Homeless Assistance Program instructions and requirements. This year, we'll be allocating for case management approximately $28,496, and then $3,560 for housing assistance. And will be audited. This is the annual agreement that we passed every year. Any questions? Move to approve it.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Public comment? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. CYS needs-based budget. Meredith?
That's me. Essentially, we're submitting the 1920 implementation and the 2021 needs base. The county commitment for the 1920 was originally $1,078,000. And we were able to reduce that because children were removed from secure facilities. So the implementation for 1920 is going to go with a county commitment of $907,000. And then the needs base is going to be increased just by $23,000, so the commitment would be $930,000. Questions?
This was the document that was on public display in our office.
Yes, yes.
Any questions from the public? Do we hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve the needs-based plan as presented.
Second, discussion. Any public comment? All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming. Approval of hire of Sharp as a guardian ad litem. This was brought up at the work session on Monday, where the former guardian ad litem was not able to continue to serve that capacity. We had a hearing yesterday, so we announced it on Monday that we would be hiring Amy Sharp. The agreement there would be pending. This would be approval for CYS to make that hire. Did you want to say anything, Meredith?
Just that we appreciate the fact that Amy Sharp stepped up so quickly in order to help us. We lost our guardian rather quickly, and she was able to do all of the necessary things she needed to in order to be able to participate in that hearing yesterday. We have the contract here, we have it ready. She gave us everything that we needed in order to contract and everything, so we have our 3 guardian ad litems again.
Very good. I move to approve the hire of Amy Sharp as guardian ad litem.
I'll second.
Discussion, public comment, all those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. HR consulting agreement with Melina Senti, who is, I'll turn it over to Eric Hearn.
As Kim mentioned Monday at the work session, this vendor agreement is just to help us. We've identified someone to come in and help us accelerate several human resource related projects, including some records management, some new hire onboarding documentation, some online payroll documentation we want to implement and integrate, and a whole bunch of template revisions for job postings and job descriptions. So this is just a temporary part-time as needed to keep an eye on our schedule to implement this over the next few months between now and the end of the year.
Okay.
Money's in the budget covered.
Grade 16 an hour. Any questions for Mr. Hearn? Once you stay within budget, I have no problem with it. I move to approve the master service agreement, consulting agreement with Melina Senti.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to note that we've changed our HR setup pretty dramatically since we came into office, and Kim has been functioning as a lone HR representative for both county and Forest Work Services. There's
So I get involved too.
among your many other duties. And I think that there are a lot of very comprehensive changes that we want to make and do, and it's going to require a high level of work beyond like day-to-day information that includes, overhauling the employee handbook, creating more policy documents related to, personnel and how things are handled. And I think that if this person can help facilitate that, then I support it.
Good. Public comment? Those in favor of the motion, please state aye. Aye. Motion carries. Personnel transaction report, no new hires. Brandon Morrison on the 16th went from being a part-time corrections officer to full-time, the rate of $13.93 an hour. Peggy Berry left the jail on the 15th as a correction officer, and Aaron Bouchard left Human Services as a caseworker on the 23rd. So please have a motion to approve the transaction.
I'll make a motion to approve the transaction report.
Second, discussion. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Good. Any other public comments? Can't see anything. Okay. A couple of quick comments from me. First of all, our last town hall meeting is tomorrow night. That's in Spring Creek Township. And we've had excellent conversations. It seems like the majority of them have to do with blight, which I commend Commissioner Eggleston for pursuing the Sustainability Task Force and the Development Task Force. And hopefully the LRTA will have some play in that. I've attended since the last meeting both the Farm Bureau, Warren County Farm Bureau luncheon as well as Ag Progress Days. The dairy industry is particularly hurting, and I am looking at ways that the county might be able to help and support the industry, ag in general, but also either dairy directly or dairy transitioning to something else, because many of our local farms are, particularly dairy, are considering closing shop due to several years of low profit margin, well, no profit margins. And last, I was able to attend a portion of the flagship Opportunity Zone event in Erie. This was sponsored by the organization that is spearheading the planning for the Opportunity Zone. And I am very encouraged by some of the things that we're seeing Erie do. They were able to get a secretary as well as Secretary Carson to come from the federal government in order to talk to collaborators about the opportunities within the Opportunity Zone designation. We have two here in Warren County, correct? Mostly the city of Warren, but also some of Lake Township. There's 2 census tracts, and we haven't done a whole lot as far as I know in terms of planning on how we can take advantage of this. So what I've asked so far is simply that Tim Wachter, who is an attorney with Knox Law Firm, but also happens to be one of the founders of the flagship Opportunity Zone, come down for a conversation with some stakeholders in Warren. I'll be coordinating with you, Supervisor Scully, and City Manager Nancy Freenock, among others, to make sure that that coincides with their schedules. But he said that he would be willing to do that. Probably, he didn't list a price, but it sounded like at least initial conversation, we just had to cover his transportation. So FYI, if I try to pull something out of the transportation budget, to cover that, I very well may. But I think that that would be a fruitful way to kick off the conversation about how we might take advantage of this. All right, anything from you, Commissioner? Pam, Daniel, Eric? Very good, then I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned at 12:00.